Welcome to Conversations with Big Rich. This is an interview-style podcast. These interviewed are all involved in the off-road industry. Being involved, like all of my guests are, is a lifestyle, not just a job. I talk to past, present, and future legends, as well as business owners, employees, media, and land use warriors. Men and women who have found their way into this exciting and addictive lifestyle we call off-road. We discuss their personal history, struggles, successes, and reboots. We dive into what drives them to stay active in off-road. We all hope to shed some light on how to find a path into this world that we live and love and call off-road.
Whether you're crawling the Red Rocks of Moab or hauling your toys to the trail, Maxxis has the tires you can trust for performance and durability. 4 wheels or 2. Maxxis tires are the choice of champions because they know that whether for work or play, for fun or competition, Maxxis tires deliver. Choose Maxxis. Tread victoriously.
Have you seen 4Low magazine yet? 4Low magazine is a high-quality, well-written, four-wheel drive-focused magazine for the enthusiast market. If you still love the idea of a printed magazine, something to save and read at any time, 4Low is the magazine for you. 4Low cannot be found in stores, but you can have it delivered to your home or place of business. Visit 4lowmagazine.com to order your subscription today. Growing up in Temecula, California seems to lead people into the off-road industry, like my next guest that started off mowing lawns, then doing race prep, then construction, then into accounting, and then into building aftermarket off-road seats. Aaron Wedeking is one of those guys. Well, hello, Aaron Wedeking. So good to have you here on the podcast. We've known each other for quite a long time, since I started CalRocks back in the day. So it's really good to have you on here, and we're going to talk about your history.
That's great. Thanks for taking the time to chat with me. I appreciate it.
All right, so let's get started with the easiest question for you to answer. Where were you born and raised?
Well, I was born and raised in Temecula, place I still live. It's a great place in Southern California. A lot of off-road, kind of influence people either have businesses there or from there or were there. So
yeah, I can think of quite a few.
Yeah, it's a great place to be. I really like it. Great place to raise a family too. So,
and lots of rocks
and home. Lots of rocks. Yeah. Yep.
I've always thought that would be a great place to own property, but now it's grown up enough to where, I don't think I could afford to live there. Besides, I want to live on a boat.
Right. You just spent a bunch of time on a boat. How did that go?
Oh, that was awesome. It was. Great. We did a week cruising from the eastern side of Florida across Florida on a 62-foot yacht. That's what I'm going to call a yacht. We have a 48-foot boat. I don't call it a yacht, but that 62-foot boat we were just on is a yacht.
Yacht.
But we did. We started off in Melbourne, went down the ICW, the Intercoastal Waterway.
Yep.
And then took a turn and went inland and went through Stewart, which is a really nice fishing area, but the boats and the houses along the bay coming in there to St. Lucie River is just incredible. I mean, there's more money than I can imagine.
Florida has attracted so much money. It's crazy. Yeah.
And the houses that are built down there. But we went across through our goal was to do the locks along the canals and then going across the Lake Okeechobee. So I didn't, when we finally get a chance to do the Great Loop in our boat, we won't have to go through that section. I want to go down and around the Keys and all that. And so this was a good way to learn how to do locks. And so now I feel like I can take my boat into a lock and be comfortable and know what the process and the procedure is,
So that was the prep. Your goal is to take your boat and do that same, or do the whole loop.
Yeah, that is correct. Yeah. Are you familiar with the loop?
Yeah. My buddy of mine moved to North Carolina, and so I went to visit him, and we went out on his boat and did just a small piece of the, that that channel there, and I thought, he was explaining to me, how the U.S. built it for defense, and you can get up and down the whole coast. You can go up the Mississippi. Being a West Coast guy and an off-road guy, never been anything I've ever been aware of until then. But
right,
that's really cool,
yeah.
And that's my style. If I can see land, I think I'm okay floating. But I get so freaking sick. I'd be chumming the waters the whole time if I.
That's a tough one. I only get sick if I'm on a diesel boat and get the exhaust fumes.
Yep.
And the wind's blowing the wrong way and it's really rough. If it's not rough, it's okay. But when it gets really bad in the Gulf of Mexico, I've had some seasickness because of getting those diesel fumes. But watching the horizon helps. And then Dramamine. I don't know about those bracelet things that they have. I've never tried them, but
none of it works for me. I've tried everything: the patch, the bracelet, Dramamine.
That sucks. Then, so I bet you better stay on land.
Yeah. I'm definitely a land mammal.
And the intercoastal waterway though is pretty tame, but there are stretches where you have to get across, like the Gulf,
some open water.
Yeah, the Big Bend area of Florida. You got like 70, 80 miles across there. That I think it is. It's you're going across the Gulf. It's only 20 or 30 foot deep in most of that area, but the wave action can get pretty gnarly depending on the weather.
No, thank you.
Okay.
No, thank you.
So growing up in Temecula back then, it was still pretty rural. There wasn't, the wall-to-wall. It's not wall-to-wall houses. I mean, most of the things out there are on acreage.
Yeah, I mean, at the time, there were, track homes were just kind of, starting to bloom out there. At least for me, at a young age. I mean, we rode our motorcycles everywhere, and there were no cops. So every once in a while, a border patrol agent would chase us, and we'd have to haul butt back home. But other than that, it was really rural and open, and and through my high school, college years is really when Temecula just blew up. There's tons of homes now. I mean, it went from 15,000 people to 120,000 people. So
yeah, that's an explosion.
Totally different town. Yeah, it's an explosion. But
so are you're not still in the house that you grew up in, are you?
No. My parents moved in, I don't know, I was probably fifth grade or so. Parents moved to the house and they're still in that house. Wow. And my wife and I were able to move just a few miles from the same neighborhood in 2010 when everything kind of, economy died and real estate prices died. We were able to swoop up a home not too far from my parents. So it is cool being in the same neighborhood I grew up in. So
excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah. That time Shelley bought some houses through auction, and we only still have one left up in Montana, but she bought houses all across the country, and it was one of those things where we're just going to fix them up, and we ended up selling them all, but except for the one, but some of them we didn't even fix up. We just bought them, and then somebody approached us and wanted to give us more money than we bought it for, so it was like, all right,
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's smart. What a great opportunity.
Yeah. You gotta be able to have the wherewithal to play in that game first,
Yeah. Not be scared like everybody else was, including myself. Yeah. It was a scary time.
It sure was.
Yeah.
Especially in the off-road industry. We were hurt.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It was brutal.
We went from having 100 cars or so at events back in 2007 to by 2009, we were down to, maybe 30 cars. And then in 10, man, we were, there was events we did back east. So we had, 5 or 7 cars show up and try to put on a rock crawl. Then, we did it.
Yeah.
And spectators didn't complain. I was panicked, but that's the life of a gambler,
For sure.
So growing up, you're riding motorcycles, things like that. What was school like for you?
I did well in school, but it was a lot of work. I had to work pretty hard at it, but I did well at it. I played soccer and basketball, and so sports kind of kept me motivated and interested in school. And but mostly I was just waiting for the weekends. My family was really into off-road, and we'd always go Ocotillo Wells or Glamis, some local desert for us. So that's pretty much how we spent most weekends. So my parents were really involved in off-road. We're out here, for Thanksgiving for the weekend. They're the first ones out here finding a camp spot. They're still super involved in kind of the play off-road lifestyle for sure. No racing, but that's always been their thing. My uncle, cousins, all into it. So it's cool.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And so what was your first vehicle? Not motorcycle. We know you ride motorcycles, but let's say four-wheel.
Okay. So first vehicle, my grandpa gave me a Manx when I was probably 14 or 15.
Wow.
Yeah, it was purple metal flake. Man, that thing was ugly, but it was a great time. And so I'm fixing it all up, like so excited. I'm 16. It's gonna be my first car. This is gonna be so cool. And so I did as much as I could with lawn mowing money to get that thing running and get it running well. And I turned 16, and my parents are like, "You're not driving that. No way." I'm like, what? You're going to kill yourself. I was so pissed, but they are 100% right. I'd be dead if I drove that thing. Shortened pan, swing axle, not the car for a dumb 16-year-old boy to have for sure.
So what did you drive then?
So then my first real car that I was allowed to drive was a 1964 Dodge Dart, the push button transmission, slant six. We found it.
That's a lady killer there. What color was it? Baby blue?
It was four-door, which sucked, and white.
So
it had nothing. There was nothing cool about it, but I was able to weld a hitch on the back so I could tow my quad to the desert, which is a quad motorcycle to the desert, was about all I cared about. So
perfect.
Yep.
And were you said you were mowing lawns at that time? Is that what how you got your gas money and stuff?
Yeah, gas money. Well, actually, not too long after getting my driver's license, I went to work for a guy in town named Doug Ingalls, and he prepped Marty Coyne's old race truck.
Oh,
so
wow.
he had a fabrication business. He prepped Marty's old, I think it was a Class 8 at the time, and so I helped with that. And then he made wineries are big in Temecula, so he made some farm equipment like light stands so they could pick grapes at night, big old vats to put the grapes in. So that was my job through high school, was actually working for him. So
nice.
That was a lot of good experience too, kind of reinforced the off-road habit that I had. It was nice to see something different besides my dad had an old dune buggy, two-wheel drive stuff. It's always been our thing, but race truck was a whole different level. That was really cool to be part of at a young age.
What industry did your dad work in?
So he actually worked for the original developer of Temecula, Kaiser Development. And then that job kind of had several different hats. Cable TV started, he had an interest in that. So the original developer started a cable TV company. And then when they spun off the cable TV company, he went with it and worked in the cable TV industry for years, but still kind of on the real estate development, putting the cable in the ground stuff. And then, I don't know, I was probably sophomore in high school when there was a recession, slow little recession there in 91, 92. And he got let go. And that had a pretty big impact on my life, because I was like, holy cow, dad's had a job forever. Now he doesn't have a job. And he's, when I go to school, I got to find something that will always be around. I got to find some sort of career that I can always find a job, because you never know what's going to happen. So,
right. That was a tough time. That was right after we went into Desert Storm that first time.
Yeah.
And in California,
exactly.
it was more than a recession. I had a landscape construction company then with 18 employees, and it just vanished. I mean, it was gone.
Yeah, really.
It was like oh, now what do I do? That was my first big financial hit, because we were doing big houses and big landscapes, and I mean, three crews of install plus a maintenance crew, and I mean, it was 6 months, lost $360,000, and had to, everything that was on lease got taken back, and you still owed on it, and it's like, holy Christ, what did I get myself into?
What did I do? Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
That was the first one.
That's well, that fear has always like laid in the back of my mind, and it's always affected a lot of decisions I've made. It eventually ended up becoming self-employed at PRP, but that's always been in the back of my mind, is that like, what if? And so it's affected a lot of decisions I made, which I'm sure we'll get into here as we discuss my career. But
absolutely.
Yeah.
Hopefully. So
yeah.
So then you're going through high school. You're playing some sports. You're driving your lady killer car, and
Yeah.
you're you involved with anything else besides some sports? Anything else in school?
No, not really. I mean, it was basketball, soccer, or off-roading.
Okay.
If those two things collided, an off-road trip always took precedent over a sports event. So
when you were
pretty much my life.
When you were in high school, did you have grand plans for when you got out? Did you know what you wanted to do?
No, I've never made a plan. I've never set a goal. I don't think ever in my life. Just kind of
that surprises me. Okay.
Yeah, I've just always kind of gone with the flow, and just analyze the situation that I'm in and figure out, well, what's the smartest thing to do today. So yeah, I've never been a real goal setter or a plan maker. So
okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So then you get through high school. You're looking into the future. You're working for the prep shop.
Yeah, no, I think by the time I got close to graduating high school, I was working at a construction company as a mechanic, working on their equipment, and then I was trying to pick a profession that I could find a job in no matter what. Like I said, like what can I do that no matter what. So I'm thinking, well, death or taxes, those two things are always going to be around. And so I decided I'd do accounting. So I started at junior college working on my accounting degree, got finished there, and then went on to San Diego State, where I did the last 2 years of my accounting. And during that time, a friend of mine from high school whose parents were self-employed was talking about starting an off-road company. They were going to make shocks, and he was putting together a Baja Bug to go race. And that's kind of how PRP got started, was with that buddy while I was going to San Diego State to do my accounting.
Oh, really? Well, let's talk about that. What was the process? How'd that all come
about? So they we were building a Baja Bug to go race at Glen Helen, just a small race series, and they had a plastic molding injection business. And at that time, most of the plastic, this is 97, so this is after high school, I guess, most of the plastic molding injection stuff was either moving to Mexico or China. So their business was kind of slowing down. So they were looking for other options. And, Dad being an off-road racer for years, trying to do something off-road. And so he was thinking he'd start making shocks. The long travel dune buggy thing was kind of just getting started. And so we started putting together this Baja Bug with leftover parts that Dad had. And we couldn't afford pretty much anything, my buddy and I. So we were making most of it. So we made our own seats, and bent up the frames, ran around, found a sewer to sew us in the inner structure, and went to Joann's and bought foam, and same thing with fabric to make a seat cover with. So that was our first two seats, was for that Baja Bug. And we got that thing together, went out and raced, and we sucked at racing. I mean, it was definitely not our thing.
Were you
But
comfortable?
we were comfortable. Yeah, the seats
Okay.
were great. The seats were great. And so we thought, man, let's make some more of that while Dad's working on his shock side. Let's make some more seats. And so we made 6 more seats. I put them in the back of my Ford Ranger and went down to this guy's shop in Oceanside that I always got parts from, being our buggies. So I'd always got parts for my personal dune buggy from him and my dad's buggy and stuff. So I went down and talked to him and I said, hey, I've got, we're going to start making seats. These are the first 6 we've made. And he says, I'll take them all. These seats are so popular and we can't get them, and I'll take everything you got. And if you could bring me some more. I went, holy cow, really? Oh my God. I figured I'd, might get interest in a pair of them. Maybe I'd have to put them on consignment, see if somebody will buy them. So he pays me. I go home and I tell my buddy and his parents, like, hey, we need to do some more of these. Like, these guys are really interested in them. So that's literally how we got started. We were like in a corner of their plastic molding injection business. And so we made a few more seats, and by then that plastic molding injection business kind of got ran down to nothing. So we ended up moving into their garage. They had like a separate garage, next to their house. And so we just moved it into there, and it was just me and him building seats, and then, building the seat frames. And we kind of got the inner liners down. We got a sewer helping us sew some of the stuff up, and we would assemble everything and, put it in the back of our truck and drive around town trying to find off-road shops that would buy it. So that's how PRP got started.
And what does PRP stand for?
Premier Racing Products, because we were going to make shock seats. He was doing that plastic molding injection business had a lot of like other suspension components, little rubber stoppers, beam bushings for Volkswagen beams, torsion housing bushing. So they had a bunch of that stuff already that they were selling to other off-road shops. So we were going to kind of put that all under one thing and call it Premier Racing Products. And the seats is really the only thing that stuck out of all that. So
you became partners with your friend and his parents?
Well, so that was interesting. So I never really became partners. Most of the fabric, like I just got so wrapped up in how cool this was to be able to make these things, So I had gotten a credit card when I was going to college. They just hand those out to college kids. I think I got a free pizza if I signed up for a credit card. So like a future fat kid, like, heck yeah, free pizza, sign me up. So I got a credit card, and that's what I was buying all the fabric on. And we never really had anything official set up, with the business, and they just kind of, paid the credit card bill, and it wasn't making a ton of money. We weren't really killing it. And I was still focused on, I need to become an accountant. Because eventually when the economy turns, I still want to eat. I want to live indoors, all that type of stuff. So the off-road scene to me just was like something fun. I kind of thought it was fun. It was cool. And we were doing it. It was, just kind of paying for itself. It wasn't anything huge. So that was May of 97. By December of 98, I was done with college, and my goal was to go get a job at an accounting firm. And so I had left PRP, and then started at the accounting firm in January of 99. And I really was, just kind of touching base with my buddy, seeing how everything was going. And so they ran it 99, 2000, and then right around 2001, it still wasn't much, as far as profit and everything. They were kind of feeding the family and making it through. But they decided, hey, we're going to move to Nebraska. We've got a job on the railroad, and we want to get rid of the company. And I said, well, I'm about ready. We're about ready to have our first child. My wife and I were high school sweethearts. We got married. We're ready to have our first kid. And we're trying to figure out, well, we're both working to barely survive. One can't quit to take care of the kid. How the heck are we going to do this? Well, let's buy a business and hope that makes enough money for us to live on. So we ended up kind of buying it back from my buddy when he moved to Nebraska, put it in my parents' garage in Temecula and my garage in Escondido. So for 2 years, I lived in Escondido while I was working at a CPA firm down in San Diego. So
that was the beginning of with you. That was for you.
That was the beginning of with
personally.
me personally owning it. Yeah, it was actually mid 21. I guess it was November 21 because that's my daughter was born November 1st of 2001, not 21, 2001. And that's I was actually in the hospital when they called and said, okay, come get all the stuff. So I had 2 weeks of maternity leave from my CPA job. I ditched my wife in the hospital and went and picked up all the parts of that business and put it in the 2 garages. So
wow.
it was a pretty crappy dad move and a real crappy husband move. But, everybody's forgiven me for that now, but it turned out okay.
That's that same time that I started CalRocks. My first event was in November 2001.
So the 4-wheel drive stuff was pretty foreign to me. Being a 2-wheel drive guy, dune buggies, motorcycles, and that type of stuff. The 4-wheel drives, you see some Jeeps out on trails, and they're doing different trails than we're doing. And, to me, it was all new. But Jeff Knoll, I had become friends with Jeff Knoll, and he had that CRCA in his backyard, not far from me. That was the first time I really ever saw that.
California Rednecks on the Rocks.
Is that what it was?
No, it was the California Rock Crawling.
Rock Crawling Association?
CA, Rock Crawling Association. Yeah, California Rock Crawling Association. Yeah.
Yep. That's right.
I didn't even know that was going on when I started because I'd been in Utah, worked with, was helping Ranch Pratt as a volunteer and the club president of the Cedar City 4-wheel drive club. And then left and came back to Northern California and said, okay, when I do that, I'm going to start my own rock crawling series. So I teamed up with guys like Bob Rogie and a couple others up here in Northern California, mostly pirates, and getting started, trying to get the rock crawling events off the ground. And here I am 24 years later, still doing them.
Still doing it. Yeah.
Just like you with the seats. Awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
We both have the same anniversary. Isn't that funny?
Yeah, that is pretty crazy. It's such a fun industry to be a part of. It's just great people. Everybody's typically having a good time. It's hard to beat.
Yep. And so you saw the first rock crawling events at Jeff Knoll's. What was it, the Wooden Nickel or something like that?
Yeah, it was like a little pile of rocks in somebody's backyard. But yeah, it was called Wooden Nickel Ranch in Menifee. And it was rock racing, really. It was kind of set up a course, and it was the fastest way you could get through it.
Right.
So a whole bunch of rock crawlers showed up and then just beat their junk. It was so entertaining as a spectator. I'm like, oh, this is great. I love watching people beat their stuff up. It's exciting.
It's kind of like one of those, it's a continuous, how to make America laugh type videos,
Totally. Yeah.
So then you got involved with some of the rock crawlers for marketing, basically. I know you, Jody Everding was a big part of that. I remember his leopard skin. I think it was leopard skin.
Yeah, Jody's a character. He was so much fun to be involved with. But that was probably the first event, because I can't remember if it was Jeff's first event, but it was definitely the first one that Jody and I had kind of worked up with. Jody hit me up and said, will PRP sponsor me? I'm like, I can't afford these seats for my own car. I can't afford to give any away. You're nuts. I said, how about I sell you some, and if you do what you say you're going to do and get the attention you're going to get, I'll give you your money back. That was about all I could do as far as sponsorship. At the time, we were barely surviving. Right. So he shows up at that event and just puts on a spectacle. I mean, he's got the orange metal flake paint job aluminum tub Jeep. He's just thrashing his stuff, super entertaining. And he's on the front page of the local newspaper, you know, and I'm like, well, this is the guy. Like he's, this guy's great for me, you know, a lot of attention, big old PRP sticker on the side. It was really cool. So yeah, that started about a 5-year, 5 or 6 year relationship with Jody, and working with him on different competition events. So it was good.
So when did you move out of the garages?
All right. So, okay. So 2001, we were in the garage, and that lasted probably until it was about a year where we were in multiple garages, and I was still keeping my CPA job. So I was waking up early in the morning, assembling seats in the garage, maybe leaving at 6 or 7 in the morning from Escondido to go drop some off in San Diego. We had some customers in San Diego, RW and Johnson's Bug Machine, some of the guys that were in San Diego. And then I would go work at the CPA firm. And then, you know, that job would get done at 5 or 6 o'clock. Then I would drive to my parents' house every night where the sewing was done in Escondido, and the seat frames and the foam and the glue and all that stuff was done in my parents' garage. And then I would drive up to their house in Temecula and put seats together, bring them back down to Escondido, put the covers on them, and have those ready for the next day. And I did that. I mean, those were, I don't know, 18-hour days. I did that for about a year. And then Belinda goes, something's got to give. Like, and I was a crappy dad. I was a crappy husband. All I did was work. It was 7 days a week, 18-hour days easily, right?
But that's what we did to make things, keep things
That's the
going.
only way. Yeah, it's either that or you got to be really smart, and I'm not. So I had to work hard.
Oh, that's been my problem. Okay.
I think I'm pretty sure that's my missing link is that. But hard work, I understand, and I can do that. But yeah, coming up with some great idea that I can patent and make millions of dollars off of, not me. I've got to put in the sweat. So, and that's what I did. So January 2003, I quit my job right before like busy tax season, and the boss is like, well, can you help us out part-time? And I said, well, let me try. I didn't want to leave them hanging either. So I did some taxes in January of 2003 and kind of went full-time on at PRP, because my wife she was delivering seats with a screaming baby in the car with the 1-800 number for PRP forwarded to her cell phone. She was stressed out of her skull too, trying to do everything. So, so I said, okay, well, I'll quit the accounting. I'll help out at PRP. And that was January of 23. And then we moved it into I picked up CarTech as a customer. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them, but they're, a great off-road store in Corona. So, and they really helped me out too. Like, listen, these are the seat styles that people want. This is what people are asking for. You need to change this or modify that. And I love that type of, feedback, because that's really what built PRP, is just listening to customers. And if they tell you, hey, I need a seat that's a little taller here, shorter here, like, yes, sir, I'll do whatever you want.
Perfect.
So, yeah. And so CarTech really helped us out a ton. So I had CarTech as a customer, and I thought, well, we've got enough little kind of repeat business built up. Let's rent a shop, put it all together. And we did that in the beginning of 2003. So a year and a couple months we did out of our garages. So.
Well, that's not too bad.
No, it wasn't too bad. it was, I don't know, like growing a business and running it, you're broke all the time. Like, it's crazy, like, we're like, when did you know you make it? Don't.
You're flush at noon and broke by 5. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's such a wild experience. So,
but Valinda stuck in there.
Oh yeah. No, she's awesome. Awesome lady, wonderful wife, wonderful mother. And no, it was definitely a testament to to us, I think the hell that we went through to make PRP work.
Right.
And nobody really knows it but us, but it was hell.
So then you started expanding the product line besides seats. When did that start happening?
You know, I really didn't like seats and bags were kind of right from the start. You know, the dune buggy world wanted, like, everybody had an igloo cooler in the front. They had to have a cover that matched, you know, that covered their igloo cooler that matched their seats, and they need a little round bag that matches their seats. So like that was kind of like day one. Those were our three products we were making, mostly seats, but those little type of things. But I didn't start doing seat belts until 2010 or 2011. And then we started doing seat belts. And then when that's about the same time UTVs were really taking off. And so we started doing vehicle specific bags, and it was basically UTV bags. You know, if a new UTV would come out, I would fit let's make a door bag that fits this door exactly. Let's make a bed bag that goes in the bed that fits exactly only this vehicle. So vehicle specific bags, I probably didn't start till 2013, 2012, 2013. So mostly it was seats. That was all that was supporting us up until then. So
not bad.
I wish I had expanded faster. I mean, you know, hindsight's 2020. All those other items were, you know, they were great. They went right alongside with seats. It just, you know, when your head's buried in the sand trying to work, and what's the saying? You don't see the trees when you're stuck in the forest. You don't see the forest when you're stuck in the trees.
Right.
Something like that. I didn't see nothing.
I don't know. I'm not smart enough to put all those words together, right?
Exactly. Had I been, I wouldn't have had to work so hard.
So did you, you got to a point where, didn't you have some partners, or did you sell to some partners, or what?
Yeah. So in 2006, I had some guys that wanted to partner up. And so we were partners in 06 till the end of 07. And I thought, man, this is tough. Like the business was doing well at the time, but not well enough to support two more families. And that's really what it kind of turned into. And I said, just buy me out the rest of the way. So, and you know, that whole thing where I mentioned, being afraid of losing my job and, you know, trying to find, I kind of saw that, you know, everything's kind of slowing down a little bit. I should cash out of this and go do something else. Cause I think, you know, we've had a good run, even though it was only 6-7 years, but, I was afraid of any sort of downturn and being able to live through it. So, so they ended up buying me out at the end of 2007, and then they struggled through 08 and 09, and then finally just kind of at the end of 09 said, man, we just can't make it a go. So I ended up negotiating a deal to get it back in January of 2010. So took it back in 2010, and that's really when it's weird, because when you're in it, when I was in it from 2001 to 2007, everything is very stressful. It really fogs your vision, really fogs your like big picture of what I should be doing at running a business. And that 2 years where I was out of it and the pressure's away, you start going, man, why didn't I hire a sales guy? Why did I try to do it all myself? Why didn't I go get some professional help on the accounting side? Why didn't I, whatever it was, right? All of the stresses that I had while I was running it, when you're not in it, you look back and go, oh, shit, this wasn't really as hard as I made it out to be. I should have done this and should have done that. So those 2 years gave me some clarity. So I came back in 2010 with, a lot of vigor. Like the economy sucked, but I just knew a lot, I just had a better vision of what to do to make the business grow and really become an impact. So that's when we, hired a sales guy to take the load off, because I was trying to do all of that myself. I wanted to make sure that, I was friends with all of our customers. I still try to be as well. And so when they call and say something's wrong, I mean, that's a personal attack on me. I've got to find some way I got to fix it right now. And so I didn't want people representing the brand incorrectly or representing the company incorrectly. So it was really hard to let go of that. But once I did, it's the only way you can grow it,
Right.
So, so yeah, that helped, right? Hiring a sales guy, start expanding the product line. That's when we started doing seatbelts, started doing more vehicle specific bags, just kind of trying to find a niche to get some other revenue. And it didn't hurt that the UTV world was blowing up at that time. Rhinos were big. Polaris had come out with the Razor, and that was a huge impact in the off-road industry because it just brought our lifestyle to so many different people that hadn't seen it before. Before you either had to build something or you had to have the skill to modify something that already existed. You couldn't just go turnkey buy something and now you're
go buy, get a loan to go buy an off-road machine.
Yeah, just to do that. I mean, just to get a loan to buy an off-road machine didn't exist, really. So the UTV world brought, being a long-term hardcore desert guy, it's hard to say that it was a great thing, but being in the business, it was a great thing. I mean, it brought a lot of people to the sport. So,
well, it's like the hardcore Jeepers. Just when the JK came out, they could put up with the TJ. Then the JK came out, and they were just like, "Oh my God, what is happening?"
Yeah,
every soccer mom is going to have one now. Jeeping's ruined, but the JK saved the 4-wheel drive side of the industry.
Totally, yeah.
People bought them that would never have, gotten into off road.
Yeah, and it creates a whole bunch of aftermarket. And when you have one aftermarket company building a part for it, there's no motivation for that off-road company to innovate or improve. But now the market's big enough to where you could have 4 or 5 competitors. Well, that ends up great for the end user because it just drives innovation and it makes those us as suppliers, lights a fire under our ass. Like you got to have something cooler, better, different than everybody else figured out. So it's a positive all around, I think. So,
right.
Yeah.
So what is your take on suspension seats? There is so much out there on seat designs for racing.
Sure. Yep.
Especially, and like rock crawling and which is different impacts than desert racing.
Yeah.
And there's all these different theories on what seats should be used for what. And what is your take on, because you guys specialize in suspension seats?
We specialize in suspension seats. We do make hard shell seats now, and that a lot of our new innovation has been directed towards hard shell seats. And when you use the word theory, that's exactly it. Nobody has come up with a lab test that can recreate exactly what happens in an off-road vehicle to where we can say, this is the answer for all problems. This one solution cures all problems, because there's just every situation is different. Every body size is different. The way the vehicles react is different. The way you hit, the way your vehicle reacts when it's hitting a corner and a bump at the same time is different. So, it's hard to say that there is one right answer here. What I typically tell people is, I'm out play riding. I'm in a suspension seat all day long. They're so much more comfortable to sit in. You don't end up with wear spots with pressure points. Not if you've got the right size suspension seat for you. It's just a more comfortable ride. And I'm not spending an hour straight at 80 plus miles an hour where my body is getting jarred around. I went 80 for about 10 seconds and then said, okay, that was a cool thrill. Slow down and make sure I don't break my stuff, So, so play riding 100%. If you're in a vehicle, limited suspension race vehicle, I would still go suspension seat. And, if you're if you're in a vehicle that's doing 80 plus miles an hour for an extended amount of time, a hard shell seat's the way to go. Your body ends up being a lot less fatigued because it's not moving around as much. So if you watch in-car footage of a guy in a suspension seat, every time he hits a G out, that seat sinks down, the seat belts get a little loose. Then you come back up, your body now takes two impacts. It slammed into the seat. Now it's slamming up against the belts. Right. And you don't get that in a hard shell seat. You're not slamming back up against the belts because they're never getting loose. They're constantly tied on you. So,
right. As a promoter, I had, there's certain things with the rules and safety that you can require, like fire extinguishers, harnesses, helmets, window nets, fire suits, and then you get into seats, and everybody builds their rig to differently. Everybody's driving style, and we're just talking rock crawling, is different. And I had one of our drivers that broke his back in Indiana at a rock crawling event where he did this climb and kind of endo flipped it, landed back down on his suspension and compressed his back and broke, off of his back, the little wings off of your spine, those tabs there, that compression fracture like.
Oh, wow.
And he was, there was like a month later, we were in his area and he goes, "Hey, you need to come by." So we met for lunch and he goes, "You need to outlaw suspension seats or hard shell seats." And I told him, I said, "Chris, I can't because of insurance." And he goes, "What do you mean? Hard shell seats will get, going to paralyze people." And I said, "Well, I've got other instances of guys with suspension seats that have done the same thing. And maybe it was builder error, where they've put the transfer case underneath the suspension seat. So when it bottoms out, their ass is hitting. Yeah. So, there's that, but, you can't, I told him insurance wise, if I tell somebody that you have to run this particular seat style and then somebody gets hurt in it, then it opens up myself for liability because I forced somebody into that.
Yeah.
Where if they have their own choice, it's not on me as long as the seat contains them so that they don't fall out of the vehicle. Yep. And he understood that. And, but he still never wanted to see a Kirky seat in a rock crawler again. And I said, "Well, they make paddings for those. You didn't have padding in yours."
Yep.
So, then it becomes, just like putting your suspension seat right on top of the transfer case.
Yeah. Yeah. And would a suspension seat have helped him? Who knows? If you get the right impact, the right whiplash, it's really hard to recreate an off-road accident to see how the different things would react. But
right.
Yeah.
So what are the great innovations that have come through, say, in seating as far as you're concerned?
So for me, what I take a lot of customer feedback because there's not really an industry expert or somebody that you could turn to that has done all the testing for all the different angles of off-road, all the different things that could happen. And so you take, feedback from somebody like that. Okay, well, what can we do? How can we modify our suspension seat? Can we put more shoulder containment in? Can we put dual stage foam in the bottom so it helps absorb, almost like a bypass shock? You got a soft and then a firm, after a big hit. We've done all those things. We're doing a lot of that, a lot of those changes, trying to just keep up with customer feedback. And then it's explaining to customers, look, this is what this seat does, and this is why we did it. but most of it on the suspension seat side is fit and containment. You've got a low-sided seat for guys that are, got vehicles with doors, or trying to get in and out of them. They don't want to climb up over that big hump.
Old fat guys like me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I was so happy to see the design of the seat that you had in the auction at Ormhoff Gala this year.
Oh yeah,
because it had the wings to contain the shoulders and your sides, but I didn't have to climb over the seat to get into it.
Yep. Yeah, and that series of seats is 2 different bottoms and 2 different backs, and then you can mix match them, right? And it creates 4 different seats that all have different containment. A little more in the butt or less in the butt, more in the shoulders or less in the shoulders, and more in the kidneys, right? So it's all just, and that really comes down to personal preference. You really have to sit in it. You've got to, kind of try to, for your situation, find the seat that fits your situation. So,
right.
I think that's the biggest, the biggest takeaway from seat design is everybody has an opinion, everybody has a use, and they're all slightly different.
Right.
So it is trying to make an answer for everybody. So, and I think PRP does a really good job of that. I mean, we really do listen to customers, really do listen to feedback, and we really do try to, okay, well, you need this seat 2 inches taller. I mean, we can do that. I don't know where else, especially when it comes to off-road seating, where else are you going to get that? I don't think anybody does it.
The customization, I don't think so either.
Customization, yeah, I don't think anybody's doing it. So, yeah.
Well, once I get those seats in the Jeep, where the Jeep is being worked on as we speak to get it so that it's running. It had a no oil issue because it sat for 2.5 years, and it's LS based, and I think that we lost the seal on the pickup tube for the oil. And but it's in a shop, and it's going to be wheeled in there shortly, and they're going to run some tests on it and figure out what the lack of oil is doing. But we once that happens, then I'll be mounting those seats, and nice. I'm really looking forward to putting my fanny in there and seeing how well they fit. And it's going to be my wife's daily driver and trail rig after that, and then it'll go to the shows that I'm, setting up for, a booth for Ormhoff, and then also for Forlow magazine and stuff. So it'll get seen, and with that beautiful embroidery that says Off-Road Motorsports Hall of Fame, it fits right nice. In there. The license plate on there is Ormhoff. So it's, I'm really looking forward to getting that rig out there.
Great. Yeah, that's good. I'm looking forward to the feedback. You have to let me know what you think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what's in the future for you? I mean, what do you, anything on the horizon that's going to be new and great, or something that you've just released recently?
Well, we're constantly kind of innovating at PRP, and a lot of it just comes from use, getting out here like I am today and running around and figuring out, what, we could have something that would be, be a game changer in the off-road world if we did this. And so some of the latest things we've done, some really simple stuff like a dust, dirt, waterproof cam lock seatbelt. That's our newest that I'm really proud of. The cam lock seatbelts has been something that's, pretty standard in on-road racing and kind of mixed reviews in off-road racing and it should be, because it's the mechanism that's inside there is so finicky. There's just little tiny springs and that are holding everything together, and you get dirt and water in there, and you're not 100% sure if it's latched or not when you right. think it is till an impact hits. And there's been stories of that. So we've come up with a rubber seal. Basically, when you latch that thing in, that opening is sealed tight. You're not getting dirt and water in there. So great. That's really cool. We did, a stupid little thing like an adjustable crotch strap. Have you ever jumped in a race car and that crotch strap is stuck way down there and you can't you can't hook it to your lat, or it's way too long and serves no purpose. Like,
Yep.
put an adjuster on it. I mean, it seems pretty obvious, but nobody sells it. Nobody does it. So, that type of stuff. And a lot of that just comes from using it, just using the vehicle and thinking, gosh, we could modify this. And so those are some of the latest. The last big one that we did was a cooled seat option, heated and cooled. That was the play guys, even the race guys. It's one of the biggest requests that we get is it's hot. How do we cool this seat off? And there's, especially since every tow rig comes with ventilated seats now.
Right.
It's high on everybody's priority. So we worked with a company that makes a heat exchanger that absorbs body heat, and that works phenomenal. So that's pretty cool. We've a lot of work to put it in a seat, kind of compact everything down and get all the right ventilation you need in there. But it works excellent. It's been a good selling product for us. And, again, that's just customer demand driving me or us to figure out, well, how the heck are we going to do this? So.
Well, cool.
My role at PRP now is basically that, right? Help out with new product stuff and help kind of the new team that's there. I haven't mentioned this yet on the podcast, but I did sell the company in 2018 to the Best Top group, and they own quite a few different companies, and they've been just absolutely amazing to work with. None of the issues that several of these private equity groups have had. They value my feedback. They're keeping me on to help out every which way I can. So it's been pretty good. It's been a great relationship with them, and I think it's really helped PRP grow the last few years, where I just didn't have the balls to do it. Comes down to that.
Taking that risk.
Taking that risk. Yeah. I mean, in 2018, we were growing like crazy, and, I was renting buildings all over Temecula, and we needed to go rent one big building to put everything under. And I just didn't have the huevos to do it. It's tough. It's like, tell my wife, hey, we're going to refinance the house, and so I can come up with the down payment. And then our rent's going to be $45,000 a month. If we have 2 bad months, we're homeless. That's really what it is when you're trying to run a business that size on your own. It's just scary decisions like that. And I just didn't have the balls to do it on my own. So, finding a partner like Best Top has been great, because it's, put us all in one big building, helped us out with software, a lot of really expensive decisions that we had to make, and, to get the company to continue to grow. And you either grow or you
perish.
You grow or you die. Yeah, you grow or you perish. So, and as, self-employed, I would much rather not grow, honestly. I really liked just being steady, because cash flow was better. It was, but it really caps your people. Once you get really good people working for you, they want to grow too. They want new challenges and new exciting stuff. And if you just say, hey, we're not going to do any of that growing stuff, we're just going to kind of hang tight, that's not very exciting for anybody.
True. Very true.
So, yeah.
Well, I'm glad it's been a good relationship with Best Top.
Yeah, it's been excellent. I mean, it's just a great group, and I've really enjoyed it. So it's been good.
Yeah, I just talked to Tough Country and to Kelly Davis, and he bought back that whole thing, kind of blew up, and he bought back his company, and is real excited about what the future holds for him. So I'm glad that everything's going good for you, and that it's working out.
Yeah, it's been good. So yeah, that was with the Daystar. He was with the Daystar group.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah. That's been a bit of a mess. But yeah.
And that's one of those that I thought would really work, because it was, it was all the off-road industry that was involved in it, and not a bunch of outside money. But I guess that was not quite was what was happening.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I want to say thank you so much, Aaron, for coming on and being a guest and talking about your life and, you know, the trials and tribulations of being a business owner and going for it and, you know, walking away from that comfortable job to follow the dream, even though that wasn't maybe a goal. And you said you never set goals, but it sounds like there was some lingering back there. Maybe you never wrote them down, but it sounds like there was some drive there to obtain.
Definitely a drive to feed the family and live indoors. It's always a nice drive.
There you go. So what would you word of advice for anybody that wants to get into the off-road industry, who's maybe an enthusiast right now and wants to jump in? Maybe they have a great idea for a product, or they just want to get beyond their 9-to-5 job that's out of the industry and get into one that's in the industry. What would your words of wisdom be to them?
There's 24 hours in a day. Use them wisely. So don't quit your job. Get your off-road idea proof of concept, prove that it works, prove that it can make money, make whatever it takes, 18, 20 hours a day, whatever it takes. And that's anybody that's made it will tell you the same thing, that you have to put that type of dedication in at the beginning to make it work. So,
perfect.
That's what it took for me. So,
yep.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah.
Well, Aaron, thank you. And you enjoy your Thanksgiving week out in Calico and having fun off-road. And that's why we do this.
I will, for sure. I love it out here. It's great. A lot of family and friends. It's going to be an awesome week. So I hope you have a great Thanksgiving too.
All right. You too. Take care. And
all right, take it easy.
I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Okay. See you. Bye.
Well, that's another episode of Conversations with Big Rich. I'd like to thank you all for listening. If you could do us a favor and leave us a review on any podcast service that you happen to be listening on, or send us an email or a text message or a Facebook message, and let me know any ideas that you have, or if there's anybody that you have that you think would be a great guest, please forward the contact information to me so that we can try to get them on. And always remember, live life to the fullest. Enjoying life is a must. Follow your dreams and live life with all the gusto you can. Thank you.